All right, welcome everyone. So welcome to the Suburban Advocacy Call. So as I was saying, instead of introductions, since it's a larger group today, in the chat, if you can all add your name, the community that you live in. You can also feel free to add, you don't have to, but if you're part of any groups or organizations, feel free to add that because sometimes people don't know about your group
This
and
meeting is being recorded.
it's helpful to find out all about all the great groups around the region. And then if you're inclined, add something you're looking forward to in the fall. Um, one word, two words, but so if you can all put that in
I
the
heard Starbucks is releasing pumpkin spice today. Like
Oh,
it's a big
really? Oh,
thing.
man,
Yeah.
already? That
All
seems
right. So
really
there you
good.
have it.
Still summer.
Scones too, Dave?
What's that?
The scones too?
That I don't know. I just heard it was like
That's
pumpkin
that's what
spice
I'm
day.
waiting for.
All right. So keep adding your name to the chat while I'm talking. So I want to give you a little details about the agenda today because we have a guest speaker and kind of a discussion we wanted to have with the group. But we'll start off as normal. We'll have Dave Simmons from Ride Illinois provide updates, statewide updates, and what's going on with his organization. And then I will provide some updates about on the Active Transportation Alliance side, and then we'll have Jamie. And I see you, Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Jamie from UIC from Project Sidewalk will be speaking about this amazing tool that we just want to make sure you're all aware of. And we'll, see if anyone has any questions and maybe see if anyone has interests in utilizing this virtual tool, which is basically like a virtual walk audit tool that can really have an impact in your community. So we'll talk about that soon. We'll have Jamie present, and then we're going to turn it over to the Skokie Bike Network. Maybe if Bike Walk Niles is here and others in the northern suburbs who. Sorry, there's a little bit of an echo somewhere. Okay, so we're just gonna have a conversation about the uptick in fatalities of people biking, walking in this area, and some of the opposition also to improving infrastructure for people walking and biking, and just have a discussion around this. See if there's anything we can be doing to join forces and make a difference here. And then we'll of course open it up to any questions anyone has, and feel free to add any announcements in the chat as well, because I know we have a packed agenda. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dave, to get started.
Thank you, Maggie. This is a great crowd. Thanks for everyone taking the time to meet up today. Lots of familiar names, some new names. These are always great discussions. So I wanted to share a few Ride Illinois updates, and as I told Maggie before you all joined, I'll send some bullet points on. But I want to leave as much time as possible to hear from you and also hear about Project Sidewalk. I kind of grouped things into advocacy, awareness, education, and events. So real quick, on an advocacy front, it's a Chicago matter, but there was an ordinance for e-bike batteries and e-bike battery safety mobility devices too, that advocates chimed in when we saw the original draft and have been successful at revising that. So that's likely going to go back to city council. It's a good opportunity to, let's say, educate the city council. UIC, we love UIC. We're like this close to signing a contract with the UIC to continue the IDOT's multi-year program review, which was done by my predecessor, Ed Barsati, for many years. So very exciting. Hope to announce that soon. And then another kind of an advocacy note, we did like an impromptu ride on the Lakefront Trail on Monday with some folks who were in town for the DNC. Active Trans. Amy was there. Kevin from League of American Bicyclists. We had Major Taylor International Cycling Alliance, and then a elected official from Houston, which is kind of the impetus. Had some really great conversations, good energy. I think it was very refreshing for certainly for the advocates that were there to have conversations and share ideas. Okay, moving on to awareness. I Can Bike There campaign. I know you all are riding your bikes like every day for everyday trips, right? Share your photos, share your stories with icanbikethere.org. The idea is you can inspire others. So snap a couple photos. There's a quick little form. Send them to us. We want to keep that flow going. On the topic of bicyclist fatalities, there certainly has been a kind of an uptick lately, certainly in the Chicagoland area. Interestingly, there have been 10 fatalities to date in Illinois on Illinois roads this year, as opposed to 21 to date in 2023. We're not sure why. Certainly too soon to pinpoint the reason. What I would ask of you, and I think maybe this kind of goes without saying, is continue to raise the awareness, continue to connect with motorists, educate motorists. So it's certainly not a time to kind of rest on our laurels. The recent fatalities, and I was just looking back really in the last month, of course, many of you have heard of the fatality in Morton Grove and Skokie, and also one at the very western edge of the state in Ursa, which is outside Quincy. And then just a reminder for all of us, daylight is waning. Fatalities tend to uptick in August, September, October. We're all in our mode of how we're getting around, and all of a sudden there's less daylight. So be extra vigilant when you're biking and walking during the morning and evening in particular. On the education front, just two notes. Our bike safety quiz mini grants, we hit our goal again for the last school year. Applications are going to open on September 3rd for the 2024-2025 school year. So if you're connected with schools, or maybe this is the first time you're hearing about this, we get funding from IDOT to offer $2 per student who completes one of our quizzes. We're also going to have, at least for the child bicyclist quiz, some kind of pre-quiz material discussion that's going to be developed and shared with teachers to kind of set the table. So yeah, that'll be opened up. The applications will be on the Ride Illinois website. I'll be sure to share the link. And then October 4th to 6th in Normal, we're organizing a league cycling instructor seminar. So for those who want to become bike educators, Ride Illinois is subsidizing the registration fee. So we're offering $100 per person for the first 10 registrants. It is in Normal, in part because there is a lack of LCIs in Southern Illinois. There's also a prerequisite course that needs to be completed. So I would say if anyone on the call is interested, hit me up in the chat or send an email, dave@rideillinois.org, and we can get you more information. And then lastly, I don't know, Ben, if you were planning to discuss the Pedal the Preserves events, which is a partnership with the Forest Preserves of Cook County, but there are 3 of them in the next month, including Saturday at 26th Street Woods in LaGrange Park, 2 in September in Willow Springs along the I&M Canal Trail, and also in Elgin. Locally, we've got a Bussy Woods night ride on Saturday evening, which is a pretty awesome event. So if you're not doing anything Saturday, join us at the Bussy night ride. And then lastly, Maggie has been great helping. She's on our steering committee for what we're calling the 2025 Illinois Bike and Walk Summit. It's going to be May 7th and 8th in Springfield. It'll have breakout sessions and keynotes and mobile workshops, as well as a lobby / advocacy training and activity. So it's going to be a great opportunity to network with folks, learn from folks who are doing similar work in their communities, and hopefully up all of our advocacy gains. If you have any suggestions for session topics or keynote speakers or anything in general, send it to me. Again, dave@rideillinois.org. We've got a document where we're collecting all the ideas at this point. Planning continues, and we're really excited for the event that's coming up in May. Hopefully,
Could you repeat the dates for that, please?
Yes, May 7th and 8th of 2025. if there's questions, why don't we have folks put them in the chat, Maggie? Does that work?
Sure,
So
yeah.
we can move along.
Um,
Thanks for
and
the
I did see a
opportunity.
question about can we get a written rundown of all of these great events and things you just shared? And yes, Dave and I will be compiling everything and I'll get that sent out to you all after the call, as well as a recording of this call, so you can share it with others. So yeah, no, save that date, put it on your calendar right now, May 7th and 8th, because it should be a really great gathering, very exciting, good energy, and also this opportunity to be in Springfield and lobby for, you know, all of these things we really believe in. So yeah, we hope you can make it. So thanks, Dave, for your update. A few updates on my end. I'm actually gonna share my screen. So first is Bike the Drive. I hope you've also saved the date for this event. Ben, I saw you put this in the chat, but so Bike the Drive, this is our big fundraiser of the year. It's on September 1st, Sunday, September 1st. It's when DuSable Lakeshore Drive in Chicago is shut down for bikes only. So it's car free. It's 30 miles. For 4 hours that morning. So would love to see some faces there. I'll be there. I know Dave is there, and I know a handful of you are also volunteering. So thank you for helping. But if you've never done it before, do it. It's great. And just if you can see this, there's a little video. We don't need the sound here, but just want to show you a visual of what it looks like. All of these, it's just kind of exciting to be with like a bunch of people biking, and it feels safe and quiet, and just a really fun event. So hope you guys can make it. And then I wanted to talk about grant resources. So in our state, if you're not aware, our largest grant for walking, biking trails is open right now. It's called the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, ITEP. $140 million is available, and the deadline is September 30th. And if the village or city that you live in is not applying for ITEP this year, start having conversations with your village and city staff and ask can we, this grant comes around every 2 years, and one, find out, are you applying this year? But if not, why not? And work with your local leaders to think about applying in 2026. But we've been hosting a webinar series about ITEP the last couple months. We just had one yesterday about walking through the application. So there's a lot of resources. It's at activetrans.org/ITEP about this program. We want to help give communities tools and tips on how to create a successful application. So we've got the webinar recordings and slides up here, as well as a lot of resources that might be helpful. So please pass this along to your local leaders. And then I wanted to bring up these Senate hearings that are happening right now this summer in the Chicagoland region. So Senator Villavolum is hosting a number of hearings about public transit in our region. And if you're not aware that next year a fiscal cliff is going to be hitting Metra, PACE, CTA, which basically means the agencies. So there was COVID relief funds that have been helping the agencies since COVID started, and they are running out next year. And with that, we'll have a huge gap in the budget for transit, and in order to keep service running as it is now, we need to fund transit, and we also need to make it better. Like, I feel like in the suburbs, it's so many people don't use it because it doesn't come very often, or it's not getting you to where you need to go. So these Senate hearings are all about trying to understand, one, why is transit important to our region? Like, what is it? Like, it is essential for a lot of people. It connects people it's like a lifeline to a lot of people. But two, like, how can we make it better, and how can we make it serve all of our communities? So there are these Senate hearings. This is a schedule. There was one in July in the south suburbs of Cook County. earlier this month, there was a hearing in Naperville, and it's kind of county focused. So it was for DuPage County, Will County, Kendall County. And I know, I think I saw Alan here, Alan from Villa Park. He testified at the hearing, and I heard you were fantastic. So thank you for testifying. And the senator is actually looking for public testimony, and you have 2 minutes to speak about why transit is important to you. So there's actually another hearing coming up for King County and McHenry County next week, Wednesday, August 28th. So we're looking for people who might be able to provide some public testimony next week. The focus is on public health. So in particular, we're looking to find people who rely on transit to get to medical appointments. So if you know anyone who lives in King County or McHenry County, please let us know. We're on the lookout. But then one other hearing to just take note of is Wednesday, September 18th. This is going to be for the Northwest suburbs and Lake County. The focus is on climate change. So if you have any interest in testifying, let me know. These hearings are unfortunately during the middle of the day, during the middle of the work week, 10 a.m. The one next week for King County and McHenry County is at Elgin Community College. But if you're able and interested, please let me know and I'll connect you to the right people. So just wanted to flag that for all of you. And then one other thing I wanted to briefly mention, and then I'll turn it over to Jamie from Project Sidewalk. So there's this national event called Week Without Driving that America Walks is sponsoring. And I don't know, I feel like it could be a really valuable challenge to perhaps introduce to your elected officials and encourage them to participate, maybe participate with them. But it's September 30th through October 6th. And the idea is like urging elected officials, other leaders in your community to participate. And it might be you could go on a walk with them around your community, and it can kind of be like that walk audit, kind of talking about, okay, what's dangerous about this area? Like, a lot of our elected officials drive and they don't experience what it's like to be a non-driver. They're not aware of the issues, and 1/3 of Americans can't drive. So a lot of people are facing a lot of issues that our leaders don't know about. So it's a way of bringing people out into the community, getting them to experience what it's like to not drive. It could be like bringing them on a bus ride. It could just be like standing at an intersection and watching people trying to cross a really busy road and just building that awareness and kind of getting them on board. But anyway, I just wanted to flag this for you. You can actually sign up here. I'll send this link to everyone afterwards. There's like a simple sign up if you're interested in participating, and America Walks will send you resources and materials, templates, and so I don't know if anyone ends up doing this, please let me know. I think could be a really great tool to use. So that I will stop sharing. All right. So again, if you have any questions, please add those to the chat for now. And I would like to turn it over to Jamie to talk about Project Sidewalk. So welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie. I am a research assistant for the Community Health and Disability Inclusion Research Center at UIC. I'm a PhD student in disability studies, and I didn't really know what I was getting into in this call. So I'm kind of bear with me because my presentation is usually like very focused on teachers. So I'll try to like explain how other programs can try to use it, but I'm like spitballing it here. So the Project Sidewalk program is a little bit more about walking than it is about biking. There are aspects to it that could be used to inform biking routes, but it's definitely focused on sidewalk infrastructure. So let me share my screen here. And so many tabs up. Here we go. Can everyone see that? Okay. And that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So what I'm working on personally is a curriculum pilot for a service learning program. But it's really focused on education and advocacy. So what we need are teachers, extracurricular activity leaders, Girl Scout leaders, etc., to pilot this curriculum. But the curriculum could actually be really helpful for contributing to the lobbying event you were talking about in Springfield. So it could definitely help to have groups of students or children going and using the knowledge they gather from the curriculum to help lobby for improved sidewalk infrastructure. And then also, in terms of just using the Project Sidewalk tool, it can definitely provide data for grants if you're looking for them. So I will kind of walk you through our curriculum, but point out the points where you could really use that to help inform what you're doing for your grant applications. So a little bit about Project Sidewalk. It's a free online platform. It's a tool for data collection. So users remotely label and assess sidewalk features and problems. Anyone can use it. And then it supports improved urban planning efforts. It creates data visualizations that you can then analyze, and then it engages the community in noticing sidewalk infrastructure. So what you do is you virtually explore city streets to find and label accessibility issues from your computer. So anyone can do this regardless of their ability, regardless of like the safety concerns or weather. So you start labeling sidewalk problems like missing crosswalks, or you actually label crosswalks and you can label like the severity of them, whether they're passable, that would be like a 1, or if there's something horribly wrong with them, then it would get a 5 and you wouldn't be able to cross that crosswalk. So you label that, pedestrian signals, curb ramps or missing curb ramps, surface issues, and then obstacles, all keeping in mind if a person in a wheelchair or a person with an assistant would be able to pass by this area on the sidewalk. So there's a variety of different problems you would be labeling, but then you also mark how severe the problem is. So if there's a missing curb ramp, then you would mark it as maybe a 2 if there was a curb ramp right next to it and it just required crossing the street to continue on your path. But if there's no alternative and the sidewalk just ends or something, then it might be like a 5 because there's no way to continue on the sidewalk without going into the street and not using a crosswalk to go into the street. And then it spits out this awesome data for you. And so you can choose what neighborhood you're going to be working in. And so this is an example of the 40th Ward. So this is one neighborhood, and it pumps out all the labels that you and other people who've been working on this ward have flagged. You can actually in the program like click on and off to see the so say you just wanted to know where there's no curb ramps or no sidewalk. You could click on no sidewalk and uncheck everything else, and then you could just see the areas in your neighborhood where no sidewalk has been flagged. So it's in this way, you could really use it to provide the data for your grants to say like, there are this many streets in our particular neighborhood that don't have sidewalks, but comparing it to another neighborhood, they have all of their sidewalks. So you can do comparisons. You can just pull the data straight from this. You can use the images. There's also gallery shots that you can take. So I think that would be really useful. And then in terms of the curriculum, I won't go too in depth into this, but it introduces through modules sidewalk accessibility for people with disabilities. And it also just introduces like disability rights, history, advocacy, uh, and that to give like that foundation for why do we need accessible sidewalks, and builds up an understanding of mobility equity and how to identify accessible sidewalks. Then it goes into like learning about how to use the tool, how to use the labels. It's pretty straightforward, but this curriculum is for students age 12 to the end of high school. So it's just scaffolding it for them. Oh, also in this particular module, we'll talk about like the careers related to sidewalk infrastructure. So there's also a module being developed by Project Sidewalk for workforce development training. So if you want, I can provide the email of the girl who's working on that. And then she could tell you more about that if you're interested in a workforce development program. So students start labeling, they participate in what we call mapathons, where they label those obstacles. Then they validate each other's work. So there's a piece of the program where it says like, here's a label someone put, and it has the screenshot. Then it says, do you agree, disagree, or you're not sure? So it's trying to make sure that people are accurately labeling things, but also like validating things that might be questionable. Then you look at the data that's being spit out by the tool, and you start to determine the methods of data visualization that are appropriate for whatever audience you are going to advocate to. So the whole purpose of this is you develop an advocacy project at the end of the curriculum, and it can be as in-depth or as shallow as you want it to be. And for this particular project, students in the previous module kind of identify who are they going to speak to. In this case, like it would be really cool if they were like, oh, we're going to go to this event in Springfield and we're going to present, or we're going to present to our community leaders. So it breaks down how they can plan and implement an advocacy project related to sidewalk accessibility. So for the research requirements, we're just asking for a letter from administration, if you have an administrator, if you're at a school, or we need consent from parents and consent from students. Students can still do the curriculum if they don't consent, but their parents do. But they can't take part in the pre-pilot or post-pilot questionnaire. So both the implementer, whether it's a teacher or a community leader or a Girl Scout leader, they will do the pre and post pilot questionnaire, as will the students. And then the leader will participate in a virtual focus group afterwards so we can improve on the curriculum. So we're planning a lot of support for this so that nobody is like in the dark. Hopefully we're going to start getting people rolling in September and then have our virtual focus group by December. And then teachers who attend the virtual focus group after piloting, or community leaders, whoever's piloting the curriculum, will receive a $50 Amazon gift card. And then if you have any questions, here's our contact information. But yeah, I think that this tool, whether you're using it with this curriculum or you're using it to gather data for your grant, could be really helpful for anyone who's trying to develop a program for walking in the community and making it safer, or like there are crosswalks and pedestrian signals listed. So if that's the method of or the mode of navigation for bikes, that could also be useful to have that data. So that's all I've got for you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. That was great. I just love Project Sidewalk, and I think it's such a valuable tool. And I'm actually curious, like, those on the call, if you can give like this tool, it can be for students, but it also can be for just individuals and advocates throughout the state. So you can use this tool in your own community. And I would just love to see, like, if you can do like a thumbs up or one of those symbols you can use on Zoom. If you think this is something you might be interested in, like, looking into in your own community, do a little thumbs up, or just so we can kind of see, is there interest? So okay, awesome. I see some thumbs up. Great. Um,
And
okay,
I
I
can
see a lot of
just
them.
throw in the chat, I'll throw the link to the actual tool because anyone can use that at any time. You could just start using it during this right now. Uh, so hopefully you don't, hopefully you pay attention. But yeah, I'll put that in there and then I'll be updating the website as well with information about the curriculum pilot.
Great. Thanks so much, Jamie. And I would say, like, we actually reached out to a few, like, municipalities to be like, would you want to do Project Sidewalk? And there was interest, but they're like, we don't have the capacity to do this, like the staff, municipal staff. And so they're like, what about, making sure your suburban advocates are aware of this? So, it seems like municipalities are really looking for, residents, volunteers, um, organizations in their communities um, to take this up and provide this data to the city, because I think it's helpful to, like, flag where are the issues, where are some areas that need to be prioritized for safer walking, as well as, like, just crossing intersections. And it can help in many ways for, like, local budgeting, and can help with applying for grants and showing that there's actually community input, and you have these maps created, so it can help in many ways, I think. And yeah, there's a lot to say about this, but I wanted to go to the chat, because I think there might be some questions, and if someone does want to speak up, feel free to raise your hand. But let me see in the chat. I saw where did I kind of lost the questions. There was some question about Google Maps. Where did that go?
I think I had a couple questions there. I think it was actually that question was answered by one of Jamie's later slides. It is based on Google Street View, right, Jamie?
Yes. And so it's based on Google Street View. You can pick a neighborhood. If you're out in the suburbs and your neighborhood isn't available, all you have to do is contact us and then we'll talk to the development team and they'll open up that area for you as well. So if your community is not on there, that doesn't mean you can't use the tool in your community. It just means we have to add it.
Okay. And I just had another question about whether folks can anyone access the data that anyone else has added, or can you only access your own data?
So that data chart that I showed you with all the dots, that's a culmination of everybody's flags and things that they've put, all their labels. And then you have your own personal dashboard that shows how many miles you've covered and your accuracy based on other people's validation. And then teachers also can have administrator privileges and kind of see how their students are doing in terms of accuracy if you want to make sure that, like, kids aren't just clicking on random things.
Sorry, just to follow up. So, like, does that mean that every individual person within a specific project can access all the data from their own project? Or, like, could I go on and look at that data that project did?
Yeah, you can go on right now and pick a neighborhood and look at the data, or you can look at all of Chicago, actually. Like, you just pick the city that you're in, or nearest to, and then it'll show you the data that's related to that area.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
And Jamie, a couple other questions in the chat. Can you export the resulting GIS data to share with municipal staff?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I can, if you wanted to email me, I can talk to my supervisor and see. I'm sure he knows if that's a possibility.
And then another question, someone is active on OpenStreet mapping. Is it only tied to a single mapping product?
So like, are you asking if it's only tied to Google Street View? Because the answer is yes. It is only tied to Google Street View right now. So if for some reason you can't go down your street on Google Street View, I'm not aware of any of that situation happening, but that would be a situation where, like, yeah, obviously that would be a problem, because it is using Google Street View to navigate.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jamie. I definitely want to, yeah, work with anyone who's interested in getting involved with Project Sidewalk, helping out their city or village, collect this data. And so we'll follow up with everyone with emails and make sure you can get in touch with Jamie and Yohai, who also works on Project Sidewalk. And I know there's some seed funding for potentially for some groups interested in doing this as well. So thanks so much. Jamie's email's in the chat there. And now I wanted to pass it over to Ben Harris, who can get us started in this conversation on, what's going on in the northern suburbs with all these fatalities and everything. So Ben, turn it over to you.
So thank you so much, Maggie. First and foremost, Charlie's going to be my wingman. I'm going to do a quick intro and he's going to fill in the gaps. I also want to give a shout out since I've been with the Suburban call. This is the most amount of people that I've seen. So kudos. Do the bike drive. Look for me. I'm the good looking guy with the full head of hair. I'll be out there. It basically boils down to advocacy. And that's what Charlie and I, along with two other people, created the Skokie Bike Network roughly about 2 years ago. Kind of a grassroots to make the village a little bit safer for pedestrians and cyclists. We've been doing a number of activities. We're not a bike club. We're community-based and we're advocates. We're trying to build relationships with the park district, with the village, and last but not least is creating synergy with the people around us, because we're all faced with the obstacles of not in my backyard. Recently, Pratt Street got thumbs down for a bike lane. Niles that's in Lincolnwood. Niles is having some pushback with something on Schwimmer Road. And there's been this rash of fatalities. And we realize that education is important, but it's also getting to know the local engineering firms. I've recently gone to some meetings and open public meetings. Some of them are really run well, and some of them probably could use a little help, as well as villages. I also recently, and Charlie, you're getting close, okay? I also really enjoyed attending the Department of Transportation federal workshop. I was in the city and they were talking about advocacy. And you can talk all you want about advocacy, but unless you're actually doing it and creating that synergy to make sure our voices are heard, the ATA, they have limited bandwidth, but us in the burbs and the villages around us, we need to come together. There's a lot of different entities, but eventually we're going to do a call to action about who are those local entities when the weather cools off, because everyone's out riding now, to create protocols about how to address the fatalities, the accidents, but also to make sure that the infrastructure is getting to where it needs to go. Charlie, was that a good intro for you?
Sure. Yeah, I think building on Ben's point about the advocacy, one of the things that one of the prompts for creating the Skokie Bike Network is I was approached at a meeting and somebody talked to me and said, "Oh, you're the bike guy." And I said, "Well, actually, there's several of us." And I think it's really important to have a presence, right? A presence in the community, because things like this do come up. There is an enormous amount of inertia. There's a institutional inertia. There's also professional inertia. And the reality is the streets, our position on the whole issue of the fatalities, the recent fatalities in Skokie and Morton Grove, is that our street infrastructure is dangerous by design. It's been organized around accommodating high speed, high volume automobile traffic. And consequently, you have a situation where if you're not in an automobile, it can be hazardous just doing normal things like riding to work or crossing the street or riding along the North Branch Trail, is the case in Morton Grove. And while there are individual circumstances that are peculiar to each case, the reality is these are not unusual situations. They're not surprising that they're happening. And if you look at the data in various communities, there are a lot of crashes that happen that don't get the attention that a fatality would get, but they are related to the fact that the streets are not very accommodating for anything not in a motor vehicle. The other thing that happens is it really degrades our quality of life. A lot of people make decisions based on the sense of concern and fear about being out on the street. And we hear this all the time in Skokie with the people saying they wouldn't go out and ride on a bike because it's not safe, or they can't get anywhere on a bike because crossing the arterials is hazardous. So what we've been doing is just organizing people who are cyclists and have an interest in cycling, and making sure we're talking to each other, aware of each other, and aware of these things that are going on. And now we're branching out a little bit. We've had some good contact with the people in Niles and helping them with the Shermer Road improvements that are being proposed there, and that's been helpful. We've also been aware of the situation in Lincolnwood. We're trying to establish connections with people in Lincolnwood who are cyclists in Lincolnwood to try and, again, reinforce the effort and just establish a presence. It really is helpful. There are staff in these municipalities that do get it. Not everyone, but there are staff who do. And a lot of times what they need is support from people who are supportive of these. Typically in a situation, if there's a proposed project, people who like it are going to say, "That's a great idea, go ahead and do it." And people who are opposed to it are going to show up to various meetings and yell and scream. And it's really important as a community of cyclists for us to be out there at those moments to say, "Yeah, this is important to do." I think we saw that with the Church Street bike lane. There was a number of meetings also with the Crawford Avenue rebuild project. There were a number of meetings where there were public forums, and we organized people to turn out and to be present. And just our presence there changed the tenor of the conversation significantly. So that's one of the things that we're doing, and we're continuing to push on it. The fatalities in Skokie, we put out a statement at the Skokie Bike Network about that, and it's very disappointing. And like I said, this is not something that should surprise us given the nature of how things are done. And we can do better. There are known ways to improve safety. People know this, and we just need to get the word out there. And we can't let the complexity of the multi-jurisdictional administration of our roads be an obstacle. The fact is, some of these roads are IDOT roads, and the village doesn't have direct control over them. So there's that level of influence. But our municipalities can take a leadership role in stepping up and saying, "These are things that need to be done. This is important to us. This is important to our quality of life. It is important for making our communities a good place to be, rather than simply a convenient town to drive through." So that's where we are with things. That's what we've been doing, and appreciate everybody being here. This group, this forum has been an important forum over the years, and it's good to see the number of people who have joined today's phone call. Thank you.
And to close out, a call to action: if you're in a surrounding community Evanston, Skokie, Niles, Morton Grove, reach out to us, and we'll be putting together a chit chat talk, really focused on synergy in this immediate area, so we can bring 1,000, 2,000 emails and flood city halls, village halls, as well as make a presence at some of the meetings, the open forum ones. So that'll be the call to action, but again, it'll be after Halloween probably. That's it from us, Maggie.
Thank you, Ben and Charlie. No,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Army, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Peggy or anyone in Niles, did you want to share anything, or anyone, in this area, that's been recently affected by all of this?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes, let me start better now. Yes, I just wanted to share that a reporter from the Pioneer Press papers, which are part of the Chicago Tribune, reached out to me. I spoke with him yesterday. I shared the same vision that Charlie and I have, and that's that when crashes occur, we don't just do an accident report and seek to determine who's at fault, vis-a-vis the traffic law, but we also look at how our roads can be designed to meet the needs of vulnerable road users. And I wanted to share, I put it in the chat. I wrote a letter to the editor. I am a member of the BPAG, we call it, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Group of the Village of Niles. I brought that letter to them, submitted it for publication. It was published. And I think in some of this work that we do, we feel like, oh, the problems are so large, but we need to every now and then just take a minute and pause and celebrate small wins. And one of the small wins that occurred from writing that letter, bringing it to the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Group, is that the Village of Niles called out the engineers of, they put in a message to the engineers, IDOT engineers. Someone came out, looked at the signal, adjusted the crossing time based on, what did he call it? Engineering judgment. Because we pointed out that there were highly vulnerable road users in the area. So change is incremental. We should celebrate it when it happens. I guess that's what I wanted to say. And I would be curious to know from Charlie, did the reporter reach out to you? I gave him all of your contact information, and I gave him yours, Maggie.
Yeah, I'm talking to him this afternoon.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to him last night as well. So
okay, awesome.
No, Peggy, thanks. That's a great update about, how like you worked with the local engineers and they did make a change. Like they're like, and it does take some time, but it is a win to celebrate.
And I want to give my thanks to the folks from Oak Park. Do we have anybody from Oak Park on this call? Because
oh yeah, we do. Carl,
I am part of the Facebook group that is Bike Walk Oak Park, and it helped me. Some of the resources posted there helped me so much in my understanding of what I might recommend to the village engineers after that deadly crash. So I just want to give my propers to my colleagues in Oak Park because it made a difference. And I also want to acknowledge Dave, because yes, we did use Ride Illinois materials at, instead of the night out event, our police department does a walk and roll Niles, and we decided to make our table a little more interactive. So we printed out the quizzes at the various age levels. We had kids coming, taking the quizzes. I didn't do a very good job of keeping records. I could probably kind of go through that box. I was immediately on vacation after that, so I haven't had time to look at how many were completed. But I want to thank you for that. But it also gave me the event is where I chased down the Pioneer Press reporter and said, "Hey, thank you for printing my letter to the editor." And, I talked about all of the things going on. So, all of these things have ripple effects, and being here on this call together will no doubt produce more ripple effects. So I want to thank Dave, and I want to thank you, Maggie, for all that you do to bring us together, because that's so important.
Yeah, of course. And
Welcome, Maggie.
I saw Charlie and Ben and Peggy, you might have been involved in this too. There was a letter that you wrote. I think it was the Skokie Bike Network letter that was fantastic. That was just like, a call to action of like, or just like summarizing what's going on, that we're building dangerous roads, we're building dangerous intersections, and we can do better. And I want to make sure to share out that letter with everyone, but something I don't know, I wanted to throw out there just as an idea, is like repurposing that letter maybe for as a sign-on letter for different organizations and or businesses in the area to all sign on to kind of show that there's like a show of force, or there's many individuals and groups that are concerned about this and want to do something and are demanding better solutions.
I posted a link to the piece that we wrote in the chat, so you can go take a look at that. And yeah, I'd be very interested in doing this sign-on idea. I'm not exactly sure how that would actually happen, Maggie. I have to go. I'm actually at work and I have to go back to work. But feel free to get in touch with me and we'll talk about that some more.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you, you and Ben and Peggy and anyone else who's interested. But it's something we did with North DuSable Lakeshore Drive, because that's a whole separate issue of going on in Chicago right now, and we did a sign-on letter that has been a very powerful tool for just showcasing, all of the interest and support behind these needs. So
right, and with that sign-on letter, it's that synergy that I was talking about how many people are in the Skokie Bike Network, how many people are in the Evanston Transit Alliance. So all of a sudden, that sign-on letter talks to numbers of people that we're speaking on behalf of X amount of people. So yeah, stay tuned, Maggie.
Yeah.
We're going to spend quality time.
And then also thinking about like there's all sorts of other types of groups that like transportation does affect so many people. It touches everyone's lives in some way. So there's a lot of other groups, like environmental groups or just like community-based organizations who also care about this, who will like get behind these issues. So yeah, I think more to come on all of this. And I feel like what we're talking about right now is like applicable to every community in our region. Yeah, well, I'll email you guys, but more to come. And if anyone has any thoughts or ideas for Skokie, Niles, and surrounding area, please email me or share them, get in touch with any of these guys. So, oh, and Carl added the Bike Walk Oak Park URL to the chat, which is a great resource. They've done a lot of great work there. All right. Anyone have anything they wanted to bring up, share, questions? Feel free to raise your hand. Jamie, I see you're still on the call. There was a question I saw in the chat about the chat is very busy right now, so I'm just like can't find it again. There's a question. Well, I'll reach out to you later, actually. And Brad, see your hands up.
Hi there. I mentioned it in the chat, but just to make sure everybody saw it, I definitely am looking for support from anyone who's a neighbor of mine. I'm in Park Ridge. We have a city council meeting on September 3rd where we're trying to get approval. We've had, some of you have heard me before talk about the fact that for like 5 years now, we've had an approved road diet on Bussey Highway for Des Plaines and Park Ridge. And it's finally supposed to happen next year, but there's been some last minute surprise thrown in the mix where money has to be spent, more money has to be spent to support the costs for the city. So there's going to be a city council meeting to discuss whether they support the $100,000 or so expense. And obviously, the more people that turn out in favor of this, the better. So I'm mostly looking to get some Park Ridge people out, but I know a lot of people on this call from Niles, other places in the area. You could definitely come by as well as a regional cyclist and support that meeting. Thank you very much. If you're interested, Maggie could give you my contact info.
Brad, do you have info on when the meeting is?
It's Tuesday, September 3rd at 7 p.m. at Park Ridge City Hall.
Okay. Brad, if you want to send me a short blurb about that, I can send it out to our Park Ridge supporters. And that goes to for anyone. If there's some meeting that you feel like it would be really helpful to get advocates attending, voicing concerns, let me know, send me a blurb, and I can email it, send an email blast to people in your community.
Bike groups have already been updated on it, but the more we can do to spread the word, we really appreciate that, Maggie.
For sure.
Yeah, Maggie or Brad, share that with Ride Illinois too. I'm sure we have a lot of overlap in our contacts, but if we can reach some other folks, do so.
Thank you so much.
Did I see someone else's hand up, or did I? All right. Well, last call. Any other announcements, questions, news?
Maggie, I just had two questions that got, I think, lost in the chat. The first one's regarding Bike the Drive. Do we have any information from Metro yet, whether or not they'll be providing additional service on that day due to the increased interest in it going downtown?
I will check. Thanks for bringing that up.
And then the second question I had was regarding the Senate Transportation Committee hearings. Where did you get the location information? Because Bill Valam said he was going to be posting it on his website, and we've never seen anything from him, and tried even calling his office, and we haven't heard back. So
yeah, I know, like, it's very, I don't know, the locations are coming in last minute, but I heard that through our executive director and our lobbyists. And I think they had a meeting with Senator Villavalem yesterday. So I think it's like new information. And maybe that's why it hasn't been posted on the website yet. So the Elgin Community College is the location for the Senate hearing next week on Wednesday. Still TBD for the Lake and Northwest Cook Senate hearing. All right. Well, I think that brings us to basically 1 o'clock. So again, thank you all so much. It was great to have a large group of advocates here today. And I will be following up with resources, Jamie's slides from Project Sidewalk, some email addresses. And if you, again, feel free to get in touch with any questions, or if there are resources you'd like to get shared out, let me know. But yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your day. Hope you join some events coming up, the Bussey, the night ride, and Bike the Drive, September 1st. So, and the Forest Preserve event. But anyway, I'll send all that information out. But good to see you all, and see you in a couple months.
Thanks, Maggie.
Everybody.
Thank